Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, friends, we gather today at a crossroads of human experience, a junction defined by a single, pervasive, and profoundly personal transaction. It is a trade conducted not in markets, but in the silent, infinite streams of data that now form the backdrop of our lives. It is the exchange of privacy for security, a surrender of the intimate for the promise of the safe, a bargain struck by billions, often with a weary sigh or a careless click, shaping not only our present but casting a long, intricate shadow over our collective future. For 30,000 words, let us not just examine this phenomenon, but inhabit its contradictions, trace its lineage, and dare to envision the world it is birthing. This is not a speech of simple condemnation or naive celebration. It is an exploration of the great unwinding of the self. And what comes next? Part I, the anatomy of a surrender. We begin with the act itself. Why do people give up their privacy? The answer is not monolithic, but a symphony of fears, conveniences, and gradual acclimatization. First, there is the lure of the tangible. Security is a visceral need. The threat of physical harm, of theft, of chaos, is immediate and understandable. Privacy, in contrast, is abstract. It is the right to be let alone, to have a mind and a life unseen. When a government says, "Give us access to your communications, and we will stop the terrorist," the scale tips. The terrorist is a clear and present danger. The erosion of privacy is a vague, future cost. We are cognitive misers, and we trade the abstract for the concrete every day. Second, there is the seduction of convenience. This is the softer, more insidious cousin of fear. We allow a device to listen to our conversations so it can recommend a song. We surrender our location data for a faster route home. We yield our purchasing history for a curated advertisement. We call it personalization, but its currency is personal data. Each transaction seems infinitesimal, a sliver of self for a drop of ease. We forget that a life is made of moments, and a digital profile is built from slivers. We are not frogs jumping into boiling water. We are frogs in water that warms one delightful, convenient degree at a time. Third, the myth of the nothing to hide argument. If you are not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to fear. This is perhaps the most powerful rhetorical tool in this grand exchange. It reduces privacy to a cloak for wrongdoing. But privacy is not about hiding wrongs. It is about protecting the sanctity of the self. It is the space where we think unpopular thoughts, explore our identities, share vulnerabilities with loved ones, and make mistakes without creating a permanent record. It is the oxygen of a free mind. To surrender it because you are law-abiding is to misunderstand that the laws and the definitions of wrong can change. It is to build a panopticon and volunteer for a cell. Fourth, there is normalization and social pressure. When everyone is posting, sharing, tracking, and subscribing, opting out feels like an act of eccentricity or even suspicion. The social contract is being rewritten in real time. Participation in society increasingly requires participation in its digital surveillance apparatus. To be offline is to be invisible, to be a non-entity in the modern economy and social sphere. The pressure is not from a tyrant's decree, but from the gentle, relentless pull of the network. Part II, the unseen cost, what we have already lost. Before we venture into the future, we must inventory the present cost. This bargain is not free, or temper a creative impulse that seems too revealing. This self-censorship is the silent killer of a vibrant culture and a healthy polity. The chilling effect is not a metaphor. It is a psychological reality in a surveillance society. We have commodified the human experience. Our joys, our sorrows, our friendships, our fears, all are rendered as data points, aggregated, analyzed, and sold to the highest bidder to influence our next move. We are no longer just citizens or consumers. We are the product, our lived experience the raw material. This commodification degrades the sacred, unquantifiable mystery of individual consciousness. Part 3. The future. 4 pathways from the crossroads. Where does this lead? The future is not predetermined, but it is prefigured in the logic of our current trajectory. Let us imagine 4 possible pathways. 1. The smart dystopia, the perfection of the bargain. This is the path of frictionless living and total control. Every object is intelligent, every space is monitored, every biological function is tracked. Security as absolute crime is predicted and preempted. Convenience is sublime, your needs are anticipated before you feel them. But freedom is algorithmic. Your life path is gently herded by incentives and disincentives derived from your own data. Dissent is impossible because deviant thought is identified and corrected at the neurological or social credit level. This is a world where the bargain is complete. Total privacy has been exchanged for a gilded, predictable, and utterly sterile security. It is a human zoo of unparalleled comfort. 2. The balkanized self. Privacy as a luxury good. In this future, the trade becomes explicitly transactional and unequal. The wealthy will afford privacy havens, encrypted digital spaces, clean identities, off-grid residences, and legal teams to protect their data. For the vast majority, privacy will be a relic. Their lives will be an open book to corporations and governments, a condition of their participation in society. We will see the emergence of a data class system. Your access to loans, healthcare, education, and even physical movement will be determined by your scored and harvested profile. The inequality of the future will not be measured solely in wealth, but in opacity, the right to have secrets. 3. The backlash, the great reclamation. Perhaps there is a breaking point, a scandal too vast, an abuse too personal, a generation that grows up seeing the cost of the digital footprint they inherited. This could spark a technological and cultural renaissance of privacy. Cryptography becomes mainstream and user-friendly. Decentralized privacy-by-design platforms replace extractive monopolies. Citizens demand and get strong, enforceable digital rights, the right to be forgotten, the right to true anonymity, the right to data ownership. Regulation treats personal data not as a commodity, but as a toxic asset, with strict liability for those who collect it. This future involves a conscious, complex, and global effort to re-engineer the digital world with human autonomy at its core. It is the hardest path, but the one that reclaims the enlightenment for the digital age. 4. The hybrid hydra, the unstable equilibrium. This is the most likely and perhaps most treacherous future. It is not one path, but all of them at once, coexisting in a tense, unstable equilibrium. Governments will push for more access in the name of national security, even as they battle corporate data supremacy. Corporations will offer new conveniences that extract deeper data, facing occasional regulatory slaps. Citizens will oscillate between outrage over leaks and apathy over terms of service. Hackers and activists will puncture systems of control, only to see them repaired and reinforced. It will be a world of constant low-grade anxiety, of periodic revolts and quiet resignations, of amazing technologies used for both emancipation and control. It will be a future without a clear victor, but with a perpetual, draining war over the boundaries of the self. Conclusion. Toward a new covenant. So what is to be done? We stand at the forge, and the metal of our future is still hot, still malleable. We must first redefine security. True security cannot be just the absence of physical threat. It must include psychological security, the security to think, to explore, to be wrong. It must include social security, the assurance that you will not be judged or manipulated by hidden algorithms. It must include democratic security, the preservation of a space where power can be questioned without fear. A society that trades all privacy for physical security will end up with neither. We must build asymmetric transparency. If we are to be watched, the watchers must be watched more intently. Unbreakable audits for algorithms, radical transparency in data use, and fierce legal liability for data abuse. The light must shine brightest on the powerful institutions that seek to observe us. We must cultivate digital literacy and prudence. This goes beyond strong passwords. It is the cultivation of a mindset that values one's own interiority. It is the wisdom to ask, what is this convenience truly costing my future self? It is the courage to occasionally choose friction, to be deliberately obscure, to leave no trace. And finally, we must revive a philosophy of the self. We must remember that a human being is more than the sum of their data points. We are stories, contradictions, potentials, and mysteries. The unobserved life is not just worth living. It is the private soil from which public greatness, personal peace, and authentic connection grow. The people who give up their privacy for security are not fools. They are us weary, hopeful, pragmatic, and often unaware of the cumulative price. But the future is not yet written. It will be written by the choices we make next, the laws we pass, the technologies we build or reject, the values we instill in our children. Let us choose a future where security and privacy are not enemies on a scale, but twin pillars of human dignity. Let us build a world secure enough to allow for the glorious, unpredictable, and private adventure of being an individual. Let us ensure that the most important things about us, our loves, our dreams, our struggles, remain forever beyond the grasp of any algorithm, any state, any system, cherished in the sacred, silent space of our own being. For in the end, the future of privacy is nothing less than the future of the human spirit itself. Let us choose one worthy of its complexity, its beauty, and its inherent right to be free.